Hello and welcome along to Mondo Chalavec Movies. My name is John and this is going to be what movies I've watched in the month of May 2021. Now I didn't watch a great deal in this month, and also I've watched more in the month of June now than I have watched in the whole of the month of May. But anyway, it gives us a bit more chance to talk about these films at a bit more of a length. First up was a subscriber mail from my good friend Lauren at Lauren's Collection, linked down below, and she sent me In a Lonely Place. Now, I had been looking at this quite a few times in HMV when I was hoping to get it in a sale actually with another title, 2 for $25 in the Criterion sale. But anyway, she sent me this film. She's a big fan of film noir, as I am, but I haven't got that many titles actually. I need to get more. And this film here has got a great performance from Humphrey Bogart. It's one of his later performances, and it's to do with the fact he's a sort of failing script writer. He's had a load of hits, but he's not really getting the hits anymore, and thus he's turning to drink. He's got a bit of a hair trigger when it comes to tantrums, and sort of when people, get on his nerves, he goes for them. Now this leads up to the fact that some girl that he's sort of but having an interview with or just talking to, she gets murdered, and the sort of accusations are pointed at him. Now, are they pointed at him because of the fact of him having this hair trigger temper? Did he take it out on her, or is he going to be framed by this? What's it all about? Now that's a great premise for a movie anyway, and this is a film noir, and you can tell a mile off it is in the film noir genre. And the lead lady in here, called Gloria Graham, she plays a brilliant part as well. So to me, this movie is one of those movies that, I've seen a load of Humphrey Bogart films on the TV back in the day, but I never actually saw this one. This is a more of a it's not your usual generic Humphrey Bogart film. It's a bit of a step above. It's really well written, and it was an amazing watch. Me and my wife really enjoyed it actually. So thanks Lauren again for sending me that film, but I do highly recommend this one, In a Lonely Place, 1950. Next off, we watched a completely different sort of movie. We're just looking for things to watch, and we picked up this film, which I got in Poundland actually a while ago. I've watched it previously, but my wife hadn't watched it, and it is The Watch. Now this movie takes place in a small town where they've got a neighbourhood watch. This guy here, Ben Stiller, wants to get a neighbourhood watch because I think there's people going around that there's things happening, and that's got to do with aliens, but they don't know that yet. And he enlists these three people into the neighbourhood watch, and there's quite a lot of fun to be had in this movie. I've got to admit, it's one of the better Ben Stiller latest. I love Ben Stiller movies in general, but some of them go a little bit off the boil. And Richard Ayoade, who he plays a brilliant part. Actually, he's not doing an American accent or anything. He plays a sort of his own sort of persona, which you'd expect from the IT crowd. And even this guy here, who's Jonah Hill, who I don't really like that much in movies. I really don't really like his movies that he acts in. Plays a great part in here, and it's a really good watch with a sort of twist about alien invasions, and it's got some really good humour in it, really good. We had a right good time with it. I'd obviously watched it and enjoyed it that much. I said to my wife, you've got to watch this movie. I knew she would like it, and she did. So The Watch, Poundland special. You'll get it for £2 or even less if you much about. Next up, now me and my wife had said we are going to watch Star Wars from beginning to end, as we always do, and we always get maybe two movies in and then it falls by the wayside, but this time we are going to go for it. Now, as the middle of June where we are now, we have just watched Star Wars last night, so next up is The Empire Strikes Back, so we are ploughing through this, and I had a preconception in my mind of where I would rank these films. I'm going to do a ranking at the end of when I watched the whole lot, which will be quite soon actually, the way we're going. Now, I'd thought my previous ranking in my head would have been such and such, but I tell you what, it's changing a lot more, and it's a lot more surprising than I thought it would be on this watch. Films that I would have thought put at the bottom of the list, they're going quite high up, and vice versa. Some ones that I thought, this is a Stone Cold classic, are dropping a little bit down, because I'm just going through the whole lot, take them at face value. I'm not going to do all it. I know most of them have got problems, especially the prequels and the sequels. They don't seem to sort of hold up, and when you rewatch them or look into the lore of them too much. But anyway, I'm not going to go too much in that. I'm just going to say, did I enjoy this film? And to be honest, I'm enjoying them a lot more by just having no sort of preconceptions as to say, well, I hated this one the first time round, so I'm going to hate it again. I've just put a blank slate, clean slate for the whole lot, so we went ahead with it. So of course the first one we watched was in this box set was The Phantom Menace. And I'm not going to go too much into like the story. I imagine everybody would know the story, and I would not go into too much into like how I would rank this movie, because you're going to find that out in the rankings of it. But anyway, we watched Phantom Menace, and I must admit, I always love, especially the ending. I love Darth Maul, as you know. He's one of my favorite characters in any movie. I'm so sad that he didn't actually return more often or make more of a splash. He should have never been killed off. He wasn't killed off, as we all know. But anyway, so the Phantom Menace. The only thing I'll say about the Phantom Menace is this is obviously on Blu-ray, and I did feel that the picture on the Blu-ray seemed a little bit smooth, especially on the characters' faces. They did seem to be a little bit DNR'd. I don't know why that would be. I mean, the film itself looked pretty good, but I did had a lovely soundtrack, but also I did have the feeling that it just looked a bit smoother than I would expect it to look, weirdly enough. Next up, we watched Attack of the Clones. Now, this was a much better, a sharper picture for me. It's always been bottom of the list for me when I've come to thinking of Star Wars movies. I thought it was, basically, I think it's a bit of a mess. Or I thought it was a bit of a mess. But more of that when I rank these movies. But we enjoyed it. We enjoyed these two films that we watched this month, and they were on Blu-ray. I don't think I would upgrade them to 4K, because I did get a bad feeling about this, about the Phantom Menace looking a bit DNR'd. Would it look even more DNR'd on a 4K? I'm not too sure. It looks a little bit false. The whole prequel, with it being CGI heavy, would it lend itself to like a really good 4K presentation, or would it look a bit sort of ultra false? Because there's a lot of falseness in that to look at. Some of the scenes look a little bit as if they could have been copied straight out of Teletubbies, especially ending of the Phantom Menace. But never mind, I'm not going to disrespect these movies at all, and we did have a great time in them. So that's the next ones we watched: Attack of the Clones and the Phantom Menace. So moving on. Now, this is a film that I've talked about quite a few times on my videos, and I've talked in my comments about it, and I thought, right, I've got to get this film, and I've got to watch this film as well. So it is Hereditary. Now, Hereditary, where do I start? So you might think, did I like it, did I not like it? Now, what I did was I put it on and went and put all the lights out and want to get the atmosphere and all that. And I must admit, for most of the first half of the film, I thought, what on earth is this about? Not in a good way, not like a sort of, oh, this is intriguing. I thought, is anything going to happen in this movie? Because it just seemed to be so flat. But, so I thought, I've got to go at the end of it, I've got to see the whole film. The first half was a little bit underwhelming in my eyes. Will I even watch this? I thought, this is heading for a bit of a turkey for me. But I stuck with it. It started to pick up in the second half. It got very intriguing. There's a few creepy scenes in it, I must admit. Obviously, the bit with the car, everybody will know what I'm talking about, the car. That started like bringing the film to life a bit. And it went in a way that I thought something would happen, but it didn't happen. I thought that there would be a lot of bit of the haunting of the person who got killed, but it didn't go that way. Anyway, the way it went, I was getting more and more confused as the film went on until the very ending. Now, when the very ending happened, I thought, now it made the whole film make sense. I don't want to go any spoilers with it. I had heard a few spoilery things in it about certain ways that people died and that, and I thought, well, then I've seen the film, haven't I? But the fact of me hearing about this person had the death, it didn't matter to the story. The story to me, it reveals itself in maybe the last 5 minutes. So, that being said, on reflection, I did really like this film. Midsummer is a one-time watch for me. I did like it, but I don't feel the need to watch that again. But this one, I really want to watch again, because I want to watch it knowing what the story is. Because when you don't understand the story until the very ending, you think, I've got to go back to it. I've got to look at it with fresh eyes and re-watch it and catch all the things that I missed. Because to be honest, like I say, the first half, if you're watching this movie and you're thinking that you're not gripped in the first half, stick with it, because you will be gripped with it in the second half. So for me, Originally, if you had asked me halfway through, what do you think of this movie, I says, well, I think it's heading to be an absolute bomb. I didn't like it at all. But on reflection, after watching the whole film, I think it's a really good film, actually. And it's quite rightly, it does divide people, and it's quite rightly one that people talk about a bit. And it makes me think that, but it also makes me think that the director here, is it Ari Aster? He is all his films going to be in this similar vein? That's just my thought on that. But I did really like it, and I highly recommend it to people. But stick with it if you think there's nothing happening in it for the first half, because it all makes sense by the end. So very, very much recommended, actually. Didn't think I would say that halfway through. I thought, wow, am I going to give this a bad review? Next up, I watched another film that I hadn't seen for a long time, and I thought I didn't understand that film either. And this one, I went and I said, I'm going to put it on. I knew it was a good 4K. I didn't know how good the 4K was until I watched it, and I thought, I'll just give it what it is. It is the final cut of the film. It is Apocalypse Now. Now, I do understand this film. I do understand it's not a war film for me. It is a war film, but it's not really what you would class as a war film. This is more like a bit of a psychological sort of drama to do with some people's descent into madness and how mad the whole Vietnam War was, in essence, anyway. But this cut is meant to be the last cut. It's 3 hours long, which is, you think, wow. But I did watch it in 2 halves. And I've got to admit, the picture quality in here is stunning. It's one of the best picture qualities I've ever seen on a 4K. It's been lovingly remastered as well. This has only got the final cut on it. It hasn't got any of the other cuts on it. To be honest, I quite like this cut. I can't remember the other cuts. I only remember watching it when I was very young. I'm saying very young, maybe 15, 16, and not understanding anything of this movie at all. Beware, there is a sacrificial animal killing in here, which is quite brutal. And I do remember it being in there, but I didn't remember it going on for so long. So beware that happens. That's why I can't understand this film's a 15. I'm sure it was an 80 when it came out, but never mind. These things happen. So as a 4K, it's highly recommended, but the real star of this show is the sound quality on here. Is it Dolby Atmos? I believe it is, but if it's not, it's Dolby 7.1 anyway. It's a lot to do with planes, helicopters, bombs, explosions. The soundscape in here is just unreal. I mean, I haven't got Dolby Atmos set on my TV. It's only a 7.1, but the sound, it's literally going over your head. I don't know how that happens on my sound bar, but that's the only one I've ever heard that actually seems to come out of the cinema. I mean, it's all over the place in the room, but it seems to go behind you, which is a bit just mad for me. I remember looking around the room thinking this is just going crazy, but in a great way. So the soundtrack is absolutely amazing. The picture quality is amazing. The movie itself is a good movie. I really enjoyed it. I understand it a lot more. There's a bit of it that I don't understand. I don't need to understand it, but I do get it a lot more than I did get it, which obviously makes it more enjoyable for me. So I'm going to say, check it out. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Don't expect a sort of rip-roaring action movie, because it's not. It's more a sort of examination into people's mindsets during war and the sort of atrocities of war that can happen. Like I say, I'm really surprised that this is only a 15 and not an 18 because of the animal content in it. But I think it is to do with the film. It's not just gratuitous. So, it is what it is. But I do highly recommend this this movie, and I will be doing a separate review on this as well. So the last film I had to watch because I've just got this on 4K, and I thought, right, I hadn't seen this movie, but I do know that everything else from this company when they release it just seems to be next level 4K excellence, if that's a word. And it is The Final Countdown. Well, this film is from 1980, stars Charlie Sheen, who was actually, heard from John from Movie Collector, linked down below, brilliant channel. He was saying that Charlie Sheen was busy filming Apocalypse Now as he filmed this one as well, in the middle, I believe. So the movie is quite a simple plot, that this ship goes into a sort of time warp. There's a very much from a clear day, there's a sort of really bad storm. This sort of wormhole appears and it transports them from 1980 back to the day before Pearl Harbor happened, and they are facing a quandary. Do they get involved with the Battle of Pearl Harbor and save the people in Pearl Harbor but change history, or do they not let that happen? So I tell you what, that's quite a good. I like sort of these time things happening. I mean, look at that slipcover. Showing you the slipcover plenty of times before, but wow, the slipcovers on here are just unreal. I mean, this is the 4K presentation on here is stunning as well. As a matter of fact, I'm going to leave you a review from John again at Movie Collector. He's opened this up and had a look through it. He explains a lot about this film. He does an amazing review of it. And it's one that I'm really happy to put into my collection. It's funny because it's not your usual horror movie from Blue Underground, but that doesn't make any difference because this movie itself is a good movie. And I found that I was really interested in the whole story about it, and I think they've done a really good job. It's kind of a one of a kind for me. If you like Top Gun and the planes taken off from the deck of these aircraft carriers, you're going to love this film. It's basically like Top Gun ripped off this film. They didn't really, but you know that the whole if you like the sort of planes coming, you know, on the jets and all that, and the Top Gun, you would love this movie as well because it's full of that. And this is by the actual crew of this ship, or people who are highly trained in these jet fighting, you know, like the pilots. So this is, when you watch it, you're watching the real deal. It's not there's obviously no CGI, there's no special effects. This is just amazing, like real life action that's going on in the ship. So there's a lot to be said for this movie, as irrespective of the actual film itself. But I did enjoy it, and like I say, that it's a Dolby Atmos picture. The picture quality in here is one of the best 4Ks I've ever seen. I've got to admit, it's definitely in the top 10. And it looks absolutely beautiful. It's Dolby Atmos on the sound as well. The jet score, not as good as Apocalypse Now, but the sounds of them go all over the place, which is brilliant actually. So highly recommended as well. And that's it. So thanks for watching. I know it's a bit of a shorter episode than it usually is, because I usually get a lot more watched, and there is a lot more in June that I've watched. But it's just what it is. It's the way the world is at the minute, and if you get the chance to go out and socialize, you do that. Okay, so thanks very much for watching. You take care, and I will see you next time. Cheers.